Welcome to another guided writing session. Now, in my last guided writing session, I went a little bit crazy and I did these fully loaded sentences where I threw loads of skills at you, and I kind of thought maybe I'd put a little bit too much into one video. So for this video, I thought I'd break it down. Now, this video is just going to look at taking and adding an extra piece of information in with two commas. There are two ways you can add extra information into your writing. You can either use two brackets, one either side, or two commas, one either side. For this session, to keep it simple, I'm going to do commas for you. Now you'll notice I've got a sentence there that says, Tilly bought the car from the dealership. Now the important thing about this sentence is I've got some nouns in here. Tilly, car and dealership. Now, particularly with Tilly and car, which are within the sentence, dealerships at the end, I can add an extra fact. I can tell you something about Tilly, or I can tell you something about the car she bought. And I can drop that into my sentence. This is, we call it a drop-in idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do twice here. I'm going to drop something in with Tilly and something in with car. So my first sentence, I'm going to start by writing Tilly. And now in a moment, I'm going to copy the rest of the sentence exactly as it is. I'm going to put bought the car from the dealership. But before I get to that point, I'm going to drop in an extra idea. So I'm going to start with a comma to say, here comes my information. So what might I tell you about Tilly who's buying this car from the dealership? Well, maybe she's just passed her driving test. So I'm going to add in, because that would make a reason why she'd be going to buy a car. Tilly, who had just passed her driving test, now I've dropped in the extra bit of information. I want to go back to my sentence, so I'm going to put a comma at the end. Now what this means is you should be able to read my sentence ignoring everything between the commas, and it will make sense. So I'm now going to complete my sentence. Bought the car from the dealership. Full stop. You'll notice I've got my capital letter and full stop, and I've got my two commas with my drop-in idea. If I ignore the bit in between the two commas, I can still read the original sentence. Tilly bought the car from the dealership. Now I said to you, well, you could do this drop-in idea after car. So this time, I'm going to write my sentence up until car. So I'm going to put Tilly bought the car. Tilly bought, and you can notice I'm going straight into the word bought here because I'm just doing my sentence as it was. Tilly bought the car. Now I'm going to tell you something. Last time I told you something about Tilly. This time I'm going to tell you something about the car. I'm going to tell you what type of car it is. Tilly bought the car, a yellow VW Volkswagen Beetle, and now I'm going to go back to my sentence. I'm going to put the comma in, and my original sentence was Tilly bought the car from the dealership. Tilly bought the car from the dealership. Full stop. You'll notice I've used the same sentence every time, and you can see it without any change. Tilly bought the car from the dealership. Tilly bought the car from the dealership. The difference is after the noun Tilly, I told you something about her. And this time after the noun car, I told you something about the car. So I ended up with Tilly, who had just passed her driving test, bought the car from the dealership. Or Tilly bought the car, a yellow Volkswagen Beetle, from the dealership. Now I'd like you to have a go. So the sentence I've given you is Alan bought the game from the shop. So firstly, can you tell me something about Alan? And write a sentence with a pair of commas here and the idea dropped in. Or you could do both, have a go at doing it twice like I did. You could tell me something about the game he bought. So you could have Alan bought the game, a pair of commas with your extra piece of information in here from the shop. I suggest you pause or stop the video here and have a go. I'm just going to talk you through a few possibilities afterwards. So take a quick pause and we're back in the room. So we could have had something like Alan, who was a keen gamer, bought the game from the shop. Alan, who had just been given his money for his birthday, bought the game from the shop. So you can see I can drop some extra information within the commas. Or Alan bought the game, one he had wanted for ages, from the shop. Alan bought the game, the new FIFA football game, from the shop. So you can see I can add something extra in. So I hope you had a really good go with that. Now, if you have finished all of that, I've got one more sentence that you can have a go at. I've also come up with, Amy arrived at the competition in the sports centre. Now you could drop something in about Amy. Amy, can you tell me who she is, what she does, why she's there? Or could you tell me something about the competition? Amy arrived at the competition and tell me something about that in the sports centre. Again, as always, have a go, share your sentences with me and keep learning.